do you have any tips for lawyers on limiting the amount of time that they spend on the phone every day?
Yeah. So the phone is a time vampire, right? I didn't come up with that phrase. I've read it somewhere, but it's so true. The time will bleed. I'm sorry, the phone will bleed you dry of your time. It'll steal from you and rob from you. So if anyone takes anything from this call, you can just reframe your sort of your view of the telephone and its usefulness to you. I have found the more unavailable I become, the more productive I become, and the more that people, ironically, respect my time. Now, I'm obsessed with client service, obsessed with, I want you to be a raving fan, right? As the client, I want you to just shout from the rooftops, Chris Earley, he's the attorney that helped me, right? I want you to be so happy, but I can't be available for you 24/7 when you call, right? It's not like, I'm working on a client's file and then another client calls, I just have to sort of like pivot away and get out of that sort of deep. We could, maybe talk about this later, is a flow state of concentration. But suppose you're in a flow state, you're focusing on Sally's file, and then Joseph is calling you out of the blue. It's like you have to literally turn your brain off of that concentrated task and pivot to the phone. You're not prepared for his phone call. I mean, Joseph wasn't on the calendar. So Nick, this is what I do that's been very helpful, is that I don't take any inbound unscheduled phone calls. Only if the person, it may sound kind of funny, but it works. Only if the person calls, if they say apples, if the person says the word apples to my receptionist knows that's a planned call and that the call should be forwarded to me. Otherwise, this goes right back to the beginning of our show, what we're talking about with your running around with your hair on fire. So the phone is a major time vampire. Another thing, if you have a client that's notorious, just very chatty and you're just very talkative, when you get on the phone, I think it's important to control. You're the professional, you're the attorney they're paying. So, and you're the person they defer to you for counsel. So you gotta really watch the clock with the phone. If someone's calls and they're very, very chatty, it can be helpful to say, hey, I'm excited to talk with you. Just a heads up, I have 5 minutes. So, how can I help, right? It just sort of requires people to get to the point, right? Because the clock is ticking. We have hundreds of other clients that are relying on me in my office to work on the case. So that 35-minute call was just cut down to 5 minutes, and no one's going to protest. Oh no, it's going to be, we're going to talk for 20 minutes. No one says that. Everyone, plays by the rules because that's reasonable. I can't just call my doctor out of the blue and say, hey, doctor, here's my situation. I'm not going to get to my doctor. And again, I know it sounds kind of odd, but it's true. The harder it is to get to you, the more people appreciate and value your time, right? And so people, it's sort of, for lack of a better word, trains people to get to the point, to not just expect you to be on call. So again, this I know for a lot of attorneys, and for me, when I first heard about it, was somewhat, what are you, nuts? I'm not going to schedule calls. Try it today, tomorrow, this week. Just try it in your practice, and I promise you productivity will soar, because that phone is sucking you dry of your time, and it does it every day of the week, right? Control that as best you can. Set parameters in place. And again, if I call someone and I get their voicemail, I do need to speak to them. It's important. I'll say, hey, when you call me back, just say the word apples, and that way they get to me. And one other thing is, if you have staff in your office, your staff are really, I empower my staff to sort of put walls up around me, right? They're my sort of time keepers. They guard my time because they're the ones who help me to be productive, right? This is about time management, right? If I'm not managing my time, that means I'm doing a disservice to myself and my staff. So my staff knows that, part of their responsibility is to help me guard my time and put up those gates as my gatekeepers. And then, when that call is scheduled, I'm going to give you my full undivided attention, because this is on the calendar. I'm focused. I've just looked at your file. I'm abreast on what's occurring, where we're at, and I can have a really good talk with you. Otherwise, it's not fair to you that I'm not I'm not prepared for your call when you just call me randomly.